All right, folks. Wow, that was abrupt. Next up, why make a martyr out of Jay Powell? I guess that's the subject of the riff. So don't martyr him. He was a terrible Fed chair, but he's not a criminal. All right, over his tenure, he consistently missed the Fed's inflation targets with the worst price hikes in 40 years. He was the most political Fed chair in memory, raising rates to stop Trump's tax cut boom back in the first term, lowering rates to re-elect Kamala Harris and the Democrats in the last election. Totally political. A whole bunch of his Fed cronies guilty of insider trading or mortgage fraud, but he never did anything about it. He jumped on the socialist bandwagon of climate change, of woke, of DEI, no loans to fossil fuel companies, everything wrong. In other words, a real meathead. But I don't think he's a criminal. He probably did testify wrongly about the Fed's rebuilding plans before Congress, but President Trump will not be able to get his new chairman through the Senate until he withdraws Jay Powell's criminal indictment. It's not going to happen. Mr. Trump himself said last night, quote, "I don't know anything about it, but he's certainly not very good at the Fed, and he's not very good at building buildings." This is what Mr. Trump said in a quick interview with NBC News. Mr. Trump went on to say, and I'll quote, "No, I wouldn't even think of doing it that way. What should pressure him is the fact that rates are far too high. That's the only pressure he's got," end quote. That was Mr. Trump's quote. All right. Last summer, Mr. Trump paid an unusual visit to Jay Powell and the Fed and made sure to criticize the Fed's cost overruns for their renovated buildings, which are estimated to run at least $700 billion over budget. But at the time, Mr. Trump declined to raise the issue of criminal indictments or grand jury subpoenas. So who knows which little gremlin from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., or the Maine Justice Department, which one decided to issue these subpoenas? Who knows? Everybody's trying to look around, kind of dumb. I didn't do it. I didn't know about it. Here's the thing, much more important. Republican Banking Committee senators like Tom Tillis and others won't confirm a new Fed chair until the subpoenas are quashed. So it's an exercise in futility. But all this screaming and yelling about ending Fed independence is so totally overbaked. There's no awful market reaction today. The 10-year Treasury auction went great, 4.17, all right, 4.17%. It was below the when issued 4.18. Hat tip to my pal Peter Bookvar for that information. Meanwhile, the S&P and the Dow hit all-time highs. So nobody seems really to be caring about this story. Here's what they care about. The economy is growing at 5% or better. Maybe it's going to hit 6 or 7% in the next year from Trump tax cuts and deregulation and drill, baby, drill, with all these new economic incentives, plus trillions coming in from around the world, plus unbelievable 4% or more productivity growth, plus last year 2.4 million household jobs were created, unreported in the media, 2.4 million, plus take-home pay, adjusted for inflation, rising for the first time in years, plus record corporate profits, plus negative CPI prints coming from the positive oil shock. This has made the U.S. the hottest economy in the world. That's the key point right now, not the cost of an old Fed elevator. And that's the riff. All right.